What up, guys? It's your boy Seaniqua and welcome back to my podcast series. Ayan, welcome sa episode 2. At today, ang pag-uusapan natin is how do you deal with the aftermath of being outed? Ayan, medyo bumibigat yung topics natin, but I will not make any promises that I will make things light in this episode because may mga pinagdaanan ako dito na medyo mabigat. But that's the point of this podcast, to talk about things that are often avoided. And sometimes these stories are the stories that someone needs to hear. Okay, so about being outed, ito yung isa sa mga kinakatakutan ng mga nasa closet pa. You know, we do our best to cling to these former versions of ourselves, thinking it would be better that way. But for me, it's not really the best way to go because at some point you would be tired and exhausted of, always having to put on this mask just to hide this side of you. But we have our own reasons why we want to keep it that way, why we don't want to come out yet. It could be based on how we grew up in a household, probably because we got exposed to a lot of homophobic remarks. So yun, may mga kanya-kanya tayong rason bakit ayaw pa natin mag-come out. But there will be people who will just ruin your plans thinking outing someone is okay. So before we proceed with the story of how I got outed, if you are a family member or you're someone involved in this story and you're listening to this episode right now, know that this is not for any ill or malicious intent. The purpose of this story is basically to share my story of how I got through it and how I dealt with it. So, there will be hard parts na ngayon nyo palang maririnig, mga kwento na hindi ko pa kwento sa maraming tao. And the reason why I wanted to include these stories is basically to, lay out the best picture possible for you guys on how it really went down from my perspective. But again, to the family members and to the people involved in this story, please know that I am no longer carrying any baggages towards you guys. I am at peace with what happened and I hope you guys are too. So if you are listening to this, please listen to this podcast episode with an open mind and heart. So my goal for this episode is to start a conversation about it and, maybe help out some people who's going through it, whether it's the same or not. So my original plan of coming out is basically kapag may trabaho na ako. Alam mo yun, yung nakabukod na ako, may sarili na akong trabaho, I get to make my own decisions now. Para pag come out ko, regardless of what people would say to me or say about me, wala na akong pakialam. Kasi wala na may sarili na akong buhay. But, syempre, hindi natuloy yun. That's why we're doing this podcast. There's someone who ruined that plan for me. Well, back in high school, I've always felt that I wasn't really straight. I would always find myself being attracted to some girls. But, mahuhuli ko din yung sarili ko na tumitingin ako sa mga guys nung high school. Hold up! Wait a minute. If you used to go to school with me, whether you're a batchmate, an upper batch, or a lower batch, you're fine. You're okay. I don't usually date people our age, so you're okay. I parked those thoughts before because I was going through a lot of changes in my life. I was dealing with my mom's health declining back in high school, and I focused on that. That's all that mattered to me as of the moment. And I wasn't really ready for a big change just yet. Pinark ko muna yung thought na yun. It wasn't until college when I started to navigate this part of me, when I started to explore my sexuality. So, I fell for a guy for the first time. Alam naman natin yung feeling ng mga first times, di ba? You get these butterflies of emotions and you get giddy for this person that you have deep regards for, right? Yung mga kilig na kilig kang moments, yan. But to cut the story short with this guy, it didn't really work out. So I got sad about it. And this is one of those moments where I suddenly had a boost of courage to open up what I was going through. So I came out to 3 of my close cousins, the cousins na lagi kong kasama pagka may family gathering kami. I told them what I was going through that time. I was dealing with the loss of my mom. I was figuring out who I was. There are parts na may mga nakwento ko medyo malalim sa kanila. I was such a lost kid back then, and I was navigating life without a compass because I treated my mom as if she was my compass. So when we lost her, I kind of lost my way then. Yung mga susunod kong sasabihin, medyo mabigat to, guys. This is one of the stories that I haven't really told a lot of people. So back in college, I was in a dark place. It was something. And I used to hurt myself physically just to deal with the emotional pain that I was going through back then. And, the emotional pain was so much that I had to hurt myself physically just to keep my mind off it. Because para akong bote na napupuno nung time na yun, and I couldn't really pour that bottle out because I didn't really feel safe enough to open up about it nung time na yun. And yun, that's why I resorted to hurting myself. But not anymore though. I'm in a very much better place now. So, syempre, nung time na yun, worried yung cousins ko. Kasi I think if I'm not the only person, I'm one of the few people who they know that's doing that nung time na yun. But I told them that I've got it handled. So I thought it ended there. Fast forward to my thesis week. All of a sudden, I started receiving messages from family members asking me if I was gay, what I was doing with my life, why I was hurting myself, and why would I waste my life over some person. So, hindi ko alam kung saan nanggaling yung kwento na yun kasi it was really blown out of proportion and a lot of things got lost in translation. Come to think of it now, it was still one of the roughest paths that I've ever walked in my life. So for sure, dun sa tatlong pinsan ko na kung kanino ka nag-come out, it's most probably one of them. So, yun yung pagkakaintindi nung pamilya ko na na-depress ako kasi na-in love ako with a guy. But that's where they got it all wrong. It wasn't really the big picture. Parang na-summarize na yung kwento pero nagkagulo-gulo yung kwento. Ganun yung nangyari. And then, syempre, I found out na yun nga, it came from one of the 3 cousins that I came out to. And just to put things into perspective, yung dalawang pinsan ko doon, we had like 5 to 6 years gap. Mas bata sila sa amin ng 5 to 6 years. And it wasn't one of them who outed me. It was the cousin who was the same as my age. So, kung iniisip nyo pa rin na edad ang basihan ng maturity, please think again. It's not really about the age. It's about the experiences that you've been through. So those experiences are the things that make us more mature in a sense because we get more equipped in life. So yun. Again, this was my thesis week. I should be worrying about my thesis, but instead this got dumped on my plate. So I was really frustrated. Hindi ko alam kung ano uunahin ko. Medyo nakakabaliw yung time na yun because I was receiving messages left and right and I couldn't really figure out which one to prioritize. So medyo nag-shutdown ako nung time na yon. Wala ako masyadong kinausap na tao because I really wanted to focus on my thesis. Umabot kasi sa point na umabot sa mga family members sa ibang bansa yung news. So nagbabagang balita talaga siya. And I got some really violent reactions from the family because they didn't really fully understand what's happening, what was going on, and what was going on with me. Well, to be honest, I didn't too. You know, I wasn't ready for this. Iniisip ko dapat after 3 years pa ako magka-come out eh. But then, biglang eto yung nangyari. So, may mga nakuha kong very religious remarks, yung mga traditional comments from homophobes in the family na bisexual o bading, pareho lang yan nakatikim ng lalaki. So, meaning to say, just because nakatikim kami ng lalaki, kasalanan na ba yun sa Diyos? Yun na ba yun? And it came from someone I love. You know, I kind of expected it from this person. But what I didn't expect is that it was gonna hurt this much. You know, kahit ine-expect ko siya that this person would say that, ang sakit pa rin pala, you know, to receive such remarks from the person you love. Sakit sa puso, tagos. So this happened for a couple days with the family, reaching out to me, talking about what I'm going through and such. I really couldn't handle it at that time because again, I have to worry about my thesis. Otherwise, I'm gonna fail that if I don't give my focus and attention to that. This cousin of mine ruined all my plans. This cousin ruined everything for me. And what's sad about it is this cousin didn't have accountability. He didn't even help me get through it. Pagkatapos niya akong i-out, parang biglang, bye-bye Sean, okay na yan, ikaw na bahala dyan. Naiwan lang ako ng ganon sa ere bigla. And I was left alone to deal with it. I'm gonna quote something from a movie that I really love. So it came from Love, Simon. I'm supposed to decide when, where, how, and who knows, and how I'm supposed to say it. That's supposed to be my thing. So when I heard that line, syempre naiyak ako because I didn't have that chance, that same chance that Simon didn't have. You know, ang daming tumatakbo sa utak ko nun kung paano ako magka-come out. Tapos sisirain lang na isang tao sa buhay ko. I trusted this person, you know. I shared a lot of vulnerable details to that person. And I was thinking, how could someone betray my trust so callously, you know? It took me a while to open up about these feelings that I was having. Tapos sisirain mo lang yung tiwala ko ng ganon. I was so heartbroken because I didn't really expect it that ganon yung mangyayari. So that chance, it got stolen from me. That chance to come out in my own terms, that chance to actually tell my family, myself, the story of how it came about, you know, to paint them a better picture so that they could understand me more para walang miscommunication. I didn't get that chance. The same as Simon didn't get that chance, you know. So, I confronted my cousin about it. At ito pa, na-gaslight pa nga ako. Sabi sa inyo, babalik tong gaslighting eh. My cousin's reason of why he outed me was because it was coming from a place of concern daw. And they were worried about me. Kasi I was hurting myself. But this isn't the kind of help that I needed that time. What I needed was comfort and the safe space where I could open up about these feelings to make it lighter for me, you know? I just needed someone to hear me out. Again, it took me a while to open up about these feelings. Tapos, bigla mo lang sisirain yung tiwala ko sa'yo. It got so blown out of proportion na ang dami-dami ng naging assumptions ng mga tao sa akin. You know, may mga remarks pa ako na alala na kaya yan na-depressed kasi bading siya. Tapos, may magsasabi pa sa akin na okay lang naman maging bading, wag ka lang makipag-sex sa mga lalaki. And I was like, ano to? Ano nangyayari? Bakit ganon? Bakit ganon yung nare-receive ko mga comments? This isn't what I need, you know? So, yes, the family didn't really take it that well that time. And I also felt left out because I felt like a stranger all of a sudden to them. May mga times na hindi na ako nakakasama sa family gathering. Well, it's because I isolated myself because I didn't really have the confidence that I have now back then. I didn't want to subject myself to be put in a situation where my whole being is gonna be questioned by the family. Hindi pa ganon ka-solid yung confidence ko. So yung feeling ko nito is I had to go through it somewhat alone. I remember sending this message to some family members. I wrote some cute message that I'm still the same person. Nag-iba lang yung preference ko. I still have that chance to have a kid or something if that's what you're worrying about. Nagkataon lang, I get to choose who I want to love. But back then, I didn't really feel like I had the full support of my family. And that's what hurts because I'm a family person. You know, as much as possible, pag may mga event gatherings, I would go when I wasn't out yet. But I am grateful, again, to the people who still loves me for who I am. One of my brothers lovingly said na, it's your life. Live how you want to live it. That time, I was crying so hard because sana ganito lang kabilis yung pag-accept sa akin ng tao. Sana in one snap, ganun lang kabilis. Kasi it was that quick for my brother because he was already living in the States, so medyo liberated na siya mag-isip. And also, to my sister, who didn't really say anything about it, I think she already knew that I wasn't straight. She was just waiting for me to come out. So she didn't really say a lot about it, but I could feel the love and support regardless whether I'm straight or not. So it was a mixed emotion kind of situation because I could feel some support from my friends and some family members. But it was sad to see some people in my life go the moment they knew that I wasn't straight. You know, they suddenly became a stranger to me. So it was really hard dealing with that because hindi pa ako ready nun eh. Hindi pa to dapat yung iniisip ko nung time na yon. So yung emotional capacity ko nung time na yon, it wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't ready. I was just supposed to worry about my thesis again. So yung time na yun, all I could think about was, shucks, I need to defend my thesis. So all I was thinking back then, nung time na yun, pinark ko muna tong coming out situation. I was worrying about my thesis because I was aiming na umabot ako sa capstone, plenary. It was my goal to reach that point. And I was like, can someone give me a break, please? Because I need to focus on my thesis. At dahil medyo nagiging emotional na tayo, magpasok muna tayo ng onting joke because pinipigilan ko na lang yung luha ko. By the way, based on track record, I think isa ako sa mga pioneer batches ng mga queer people sa family. So forever ko mapagyayabang yon na nasa akin ang corona ng isang pioneer na bading sa pamilya. Yes. Moving on, it didn't just stop there. Even now, there are still some people who are not so accepting of me just yet. But it's okay. I made my mark. That's all that matters to me, you know? I was actually so happy to see that through what happened to me, it kind of taught my family to be more accepting because it was easier now for the younger generations to come out. So I actually had this conversation with someone in the family. And this person told me na they already came out to their mom. And I asked them, how was it? Sabi niya, it was easy. It was easier. You made it easier. That time, I was feeling very emotional because I was like, hey, this is what I was longing for. This kind of acceptance. Alam mo yun, yung ganito kadali na lang for people to come out. Sana there's more of this. It's just sad na I had to go through that because in a sense, I was the pavement papunta sa point na to. So what I noticed then is when I started to become more confident with who I am and what I am as a person, that's when I felt the family warming up to me again. So I actually had an encounter with my father. Yes, my father. And alam naman natin minsan yung mga tatay, di ba? They are not very upfront with what they're feeling. And tinanong niya ako na ano yung mga pinagpo-post mo. I already knew what he was talking about because that time I recently posted a photo of me and my partner back then. But I wanted to hear it from him directly. So I asked him, anong mga pinopost ko? So sabi niya, alam mo na yung sinasabi ko. So dumiretso na ako. Sabi ko, yung post ko ba na may jowa akong lalaki? Sabi niya, oo, yun. Mag-ingat daw ako sa mga pinagpo-post ko kasi baka daw i-judge ako ng pamilya ko. In my head, I was already being judged, and regardless of what I post, people already know about me. For sure, may mga judgments na yung mga tao sa akin. So regardless whether I post or not, they already have their opinions about me. But the next statement that I said kind of shocked me a bit then. Nagulat din ako doon. Sabi ko sa kanya, hayaan mo sila. Hindi nila ako pinapakain. I think that was one of the first moments where I really felt confident with who I am and what I am as a person. So it was an emotional breakthrough for me na alam mo yun, I could easily just say things like this na. So I guess them not accepting me was coming from a place of fear and concern. Fear kasi they couldn't really fully grasp the concept of being bisexual. And alam naman natin, di ba, pagka hindi mo pa naiintindihan yung isang bagay, madalas kinakatakutan natin siya. And concern because I think they're still stuck in a mindset na pagbading ka, medyo mahihirapan kang mamuhay as a queer person. But the world is changing. It's not so hard compared to before. It's still hard to live as a queer person, don't get me wrong. But it's easier now compared to where it was before, And I remember actually someone in my life scaring me na, gusto mo bang mabuhay ng ganyan? So I guess, rooting from childhood pa lang, I was being conditioned na to be scared of being gay. Kasi may mga maririnig akong mga ganyan. Ang mahiwagang tanong is, how did I deal with it? And how did I deal with the aftermath of being outed? For starters, no mga first few moments of being outed, galit na galit ako sa mundo. Kasi ninakaw sa akin yung boses ko. That chance, again, to come out in my own terms. I didn't have that chance. It was stolen from me. And it felt like no matter what I do back then, nothing was going my way. So, ayun, I worked on building my confidence and, of course, figuring out what I really was. Because I was still confused of what I really am as a person, as a queer person. I didn't really know because I was still figuring it out. Kasi dun talaga ako nahirapan yung alamin kung sino ako. Kasi minsan, mas mahirap i-figure out na bisexual ka kasi you would feel confused because why do you like girls? But at the same time, you also have a chance to like guys. And sana, straight na lang pala talaga ako para, alam mo yon, hindi ko pinoproblema to. But, where's the fun in that? Being queer is fun. Oh, And by the way, I guess this is my official coming out story, guys. This is my podcast, and I will reclaim my voice here because this is mine. So I'm your boy, Seaniqua. I am Sean, and I am a proud bisexual. No one can dim my light. Gosh, I've always wanted to say that out loud. And I finally get to say it here on my podcast, my safe space. Feels so good. By the way, nalaman ko yung totoong rason bakit ako in-out ng pinsan ko. This cousin came out soon after he outed me. I knew it. I've always known that this cousin wasn't straight. My gaydar was flickering whenever I'm around this person. But I kept my mouth shut because it wasn't my place to out him. And to this cousin, please take notes. Huwag kang nangingialam sa buhay ng ibang tao, please. Because there will be people who would be much worse. I dealt with it the way I wanted to deal with it. I didn't really make a big fuss about it because, I wanted to be the bigger person and just isolated myself because I really couldn't deal with all the drama that's been going on in my life. Some people wouldn't do that. Kaya mag-ingat ka. So, the whole time, I was the guinea pig in the family, This cousin wanted to see how the family would react pag may out na sa family. Because it was pretty obvious. Kasi diba, why would you come out all of a sudden after outing me? Because when it was finally okay for you to come out, that's when you came out. You didn't have that much of a violent reaction anymore compared to how I received it, So through that experience that I had, I picked up my shattered pieces and built something beautiful. And I am proud of it. Like Kintsugi's golden seams, these prides of stripes made me who I am now as a person. Actually, minsan kinakatakutan ko na rin yung sarili kong confidence because I would find myself being in these situations where I know the former Sean wouldn't be as confident. Kahit bagong tao ka pa, pagkahiyo ko yung ugali mo, mababarda kita. So yun, na lang ako na, oh my gosh, ang kapal na ng mukha ko talaga. So, I guess masyado ko atang na-build yung confidence ko, but it's fun to be this confident, No one can dim my light now, and no one can shut me up. Because before I got outed, I was this shy boy who was just sitting in the corner. It's so fun to have a quick look back to where I was back then and to where I am now. The progress. It's so fun to see. Of course, it doesn't end there. The outside world is still not friendly to us. May mga tao pa rin sa buhay mo that would still wish that you're still straight. I actually have this family member na who would always give me this comment na sayang ka. And then this family member then would tag me dun sa mga posts ng high school sweetheart ko na babae. And I would always reply with, anong sayang? Mind you, I'm still close to this high school sweetheart of mine. Whenever she goes to Manila, we would still hang out and catch up with each other, Also, ano bang mahirap intindihin sa concept ng bisexual? I am a person who's likely to fall for a man as I am likely to fall for a woman. Because isn't that the point of freedom though, right? To be free of whoever you want to love. Kasi that's the beauty of love. You can love whoever you want, right? So, Dealing with the aftermath of being outed isn't linear. May mga moments na kailangan mong balikan at may mga moments na kailangan mong kilalanin yung mga sarili mong multo. May mga times na mapapatanong ka, bakit ba takot na takot ka? With my case kasi, since I already lost my anchor, which was my mother, which was the only thing or the only person that I was scared of losing, that specific experience, in a sense, kinda equipped me for this experience, you know? Losing my mom kinda taught me how to let go of my attachments to this world. I was able to let go of my old self. Kasi wala na eh. Nandito na ako, nangyari na, ano pa bang magagawa ko, di ba? And I didn't wanna live my life full of fear, of judgment from people, fear of not being accepted. I got through that because of the experience of losing my mom. To the people who think that outing someone is okay, please, wag niyo ilabas sa amin yung frustrations niyo sa life. Mind your own business. And if you don't, please, get a life. You have no idea what it feels like to be put in a situation like this. And mind you, there are already people who's going through a lot, and outing someone might push them over the edge. Not gonna lie, I was almost at that point. I almost reached that point because I was going through a lot that time. At para naman sa mga nasa closet pa, sometimes letting go of this former version of yourself can do wonders, you know? You get to finally breathe and enjoy life as it is. It took me a while, but it felt liberating when I finally was able to do that. You know, I no longer need to hide this fabulous and feminine side of me. It feels magical to be able to tap into both of my feminine and masculine side. But I get it. We cling to this version of ours because change is scary. Because hindi lang naman ikaw yung magbabago eh. Magbabago din yung mundo mo. Magbabago din yung tao sa paligid mo. But it's okay. No rush. Don't be pressured by the people around you. Come out and join the fun when you're ready. It's your choice when, where, and how you're going to come out. You get to decide when it's the perfect time for you to come out. Just listen to your heart. So, ayun na nga guys. Basically, that's how I got outed and how I dealt with it. So, sa episode 3, medyo bibigat siya ulit. How do you deal with losing someone in your life? Ayan. Whether it's someone in your life that passed away or someone you just stopped talking to. Because for sure, that would leave a hole in you. So this topic is very subjective to each and everyone's experience, but I am going to share my experience and how I got through it. So stay tuned for episode 3. This has been your boy, Seaniqua, and it has been good. Seaniqua out!